Dear friends, thank you so much for your prayers and generosity. I want to share a few stories of the past 2 months that show what God is doing because of your partnership. Let me start with something incredible. For 3 days, God captured the attention of nearly an entire high school. At Leo Catholic High School, over 150 students showed up to our outreach, and almost the entire student body was there. By the end of the week, 39 students had given their lives to Christ for the first time, and 48 had rededicated their lives to Him. One student said, "I've grown up around the church, but this is the first time I've actually decided to follow Jesus for myself." After the final day, 15 to 20 students stayed behind for over an hour just to ask questions and ask for prayer. They didn't want to leave. And one of our leaders said, "We've been praying that God would raise up students to carry this forward," and He did. A student is now stepping up to lead next year. But sometimes God doesn't just change a life at a big event, but in a late night phone call. At East Lyden High School, our student leaders started teaching our identity series, and it was only Emily's second time teaching where he shared boldly about sin and the gospel. Later that night, another student named Jordan called one of the leaders, named Jocelyn, and said, "I've been coming to Bible Club for years, but I don't think I've ever truly repented and surrendered my life to Jesus." They talked for 2 hours, and by the end of the call, Jordan gave her life to Christ. Mary, a Decision Point intern, said, "I just keep thinking that this is what it's all about, and this is why we do what we do." Jordan's eternity was changed because of that conversation. We're not just helping students in public schools, but students from Christian schools are asking for help. At Chicago Christian High School, Sophia was sitting on the ground with a group of 10 other students when Sarah Lee, one of our staff, walked up and asked what they were talking about. Sophia said, "We want to share the gospel, but we don't even know where to start." Sarah was shocked and said, "That's literally my job." Their jaws dropped, and Sarah ran to her car, grabbed Bibles and gospel booklets, and gave them a crash course on how to share their faith. Later, Sophia hugged her and said with tears in her eyes, "You don't understand. I've been praying for this for years." God had already been preparing her heart. He just needed someone to show up and say yes. Now she's exploring leadership and is going to go out and share her faith. Valentines Day passed recently, and students at Lane Tech, which is one of the largest schools in Illinois, are dreaming big. Victoria, who's one of our student leaders, helped organize a Valentine's outreach where students prepared 200 life books, the Gospel of John, to give away for free. But what stood out most was her heart. She told the group, "My prayer is that we could reach all 5,000 students that attend our school. And this is just the beginning." And now hundreds of students are hearing the gospel because one student stepped out. At Schaumburg High School, another student named Nick stepped out to share the gospel with a student named Brandon. And Brandon was actually hard of hearing, and so they needed to use an interpreter to help share the gospel. Most people don't know this, but the deaf community is actually considered an unreached people group, even in the US. And that's why what God did in Brandon's life is so amazing. Brandon gave his life to Christ in a school hallway earlier this year after multiple conversations, and now he's been going to church and serving and is learning about where the books of the Bible are. Nick said that he's been asking deep questions and he wanted to understand everything. Now he's involved in a youth group and leaders are discipling him, and the church has adapted to support his growth. And what's amazing is that this same Nick is also boldly sharing in his faith in other spaces. Recently, Nick gave an informative speech in his class about why he believes in Jesus. He didn't water it down, he didn't hold back, he recorded and posted it online, and it ended up getting 100,000 views. So through one faithful student, God is working in a school hallway, in a church, and across the internet.